My father was raised in the era when black niggas couldn't claim Native American.
You don't have to try to be something you're not.
Trying to be something I'm not? Trying to be proud of my African heritage? That's being something I'm not, then fine.
My grandmother was a full-blooded Iroquois.
I know all of that, Mama.
They don't know this. I am alive because of the blood of a people who never scraped or begged or apologized for what they were.
And you
Had to reach into an African dictionary to find a name that would make you proud.
As a native Black American and a proud member of the Muscogee Creek Nation, I understand the importance of tracing your lineage. Help me help you discover your roots with a personalized genealogy consultation. Paper trail Genealogy Matters. DNA tests can't prove ethnicity or tribal affiliation. You must search through paper records to dive deep into your family heritage. During the meeting, I will teach you how to navigate the genealogy process with ease. You'll learn how to link tribal affiliation with your ancestors, and I'll show you the step-by-step process I went through to gaining tribal citizenship. Take the first step to unlocking your past. To book a consultation, send an email to mike@keymediapro.com. Her brother Otha and sister-in-law Ida, who also live on Passing Road, say she was pure Indian. Quote, I don't know who called her African American because she was an Indian as far as I know, said Ida Jeter at a family gathering at her home on a recent Sunday afternoon. Hirschkopf, who was just 2 months out of law school when he brought onto the case, says Mildred clearly told him she was African American or Negro, which was the word used back then. So did several of her family members. Now semi-retired at age 80, he says it didn't matter to the case what race Mildred was. Okay, y'all. All right. Her the whole premise of the case is on race, but it doesn't really matter what her race was. Okay. All right. Quote, legally, whether they were Native American or African American, the law was exactly the same, and the results of the law exactly the same, he said. It wouldn't have made any difference. All of this is a subject of discussion at the Sparta Fastmark, a low-slung white market in Central Point where you can always get a loaf of bread and a pint of gossip. After Mark Loving's television appearance objecting to the portrayal of his grandmother in the recent Loving film, many folks got to talking about just what Mildred Loving was or wasn't. Ricky Crutchfield, pausing to fill up with gas on his way to go fishing on a recent afternoon, said he's just thankful he can marry the woman he loves. Crutchfield is Black and his fiancée is white. Quote, I love her and I plan on marrying her next month, said Crutchfield. I do thank the Lovings very much, and if they hear, tell them I very much thank you, Mr. and Mrs. Loving. I love y'all. But others dropping by the store were clearly irked at the position that some members of the Loving family have taken. Sheila Morton, for one, said the family can't have it both ways. Quote, back then, when it was all about the new law running them, it was because she was being accepted in the Black race and he was in the white race, said Morton. Now, all of a sudden, they want the kids or grandkids to say they're Indian. What happened to the Black part? It's a bunch of bull. She added, now this is the last time I'm going to tell you, they're Blacks just like me. Hey, leave it to a Black person to try to tell another melanated person what they need to identify with, right? So where does this leave the state's historic marker commemorating the case? Last year, the state of Virginia rewrote its highway marker to describe the Lovings simply as an interracial couple and removed all mention of her being either African American or Native American. Y'all, look at the slick shit they do. Y'all, look at the slick shit. First, they're trying to call her African American. Her family comes out. They say, no, she was a full-blooded Indian. So now, instead of just listing her as full-blooded Native, they're like, well, we're just not going to mention her race at all then. Come on. Which leaves people to assume what we have been taught all these years, that this was a case about an African American. If you weren't here today watching this stream, because if I take a look at the poll that I posted in the chat a little while ago, let's go ahead and take a look here. Let's go ahead and take a look. Let's see what you guys are talking about. I said, did you know that Mildred Loving was not Black? 60% of you said no. 40% said yes. So clearly, this concerted reclassification effort has been successful. Clearly, the truth about Black Americans' Aboriginal heritage is still being subverted. Come on, y'all. Come on. That didn't quell the controversy. Mark Loving and a now county supervisor continued to object, which the state's Julie Langen finds very disappointing. It is really disturbing and troubling to think that it is now 50 years later and we are still dealing with some of the same sensitivities that this marker is all about, Langen said last week. In the face of local opposition, the state last week moved the location of the highway marker away from a roadside several miles from the Loving's gravesite. It's now to be near the former Virginia Court of Appeals in Richmond, where the Loving case was once heard over an hour's drive away. Despite the controversy, Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe is set on Monday to dedicate the marker, which has been in storage for over a year. Come on. So unless you a nerdy motherfucker like me who travels to places and reads the historic pamphlets and mile markers and goes to historical sites, well, even if you are a lover of history, just as I am, know that when you read some of that shit, depending on what racist, eugenic type ideals were behind it, they may be telling us untruths. They may be giving us revisionist history. All my life, we've been brought up to think that Loving versus Virginia was about a black woman marrying a white man, and it turns out she was a full-blooded Indian all along. So I wonder what the chat has to say about this. Let me see. It's still more erasure. Yes, the family comes out, says, hey, y'all need to get it right. She's Indian. So they're like, oh, we're just not going to mention her race at all. How about that? Come on. Stripes of Valor says they should have just sued and had their names taken off of everything for the initial mistake. Whites do not respect forgiveness or compliance. Yeah. Monique says, oh, them damn highway markers. They're always rewriting them. Yep. Interesting to say the least. Come on, truth just keep blowing up in our face, right? Come on.